That was great. That was great. I was a teacher too. Did you know that? Could you tell? So our previous guests have made my speaking session a lot shorter because many of them said some things that I was going to say. And so I will have some time for Q&A. So as they mentioned, my name is Dr. Lasagna Flowers, and I am just excited to be here. I'm excited to be here because you're here. I began my career in teaching by homeschooling my sons and then formally becoming a teacher. And the reason I made that transition, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just say, you guys asked some great questions. And when I got to college, I wanted to be a judge. I knew what I wanted the day I saw a car going down the street and it had license plates and it said that that person was a U.S. judge. And I thought, I want to be important. I'm going to be a judge so that I can have that license plate. Now, I was just in elementary school, but that stuck in my head. And when I got to college, and I went to community college. I am a proud graduate of Mountain View College. And when Mountain View, all right? And so I went to Mountain View, and my first semester, I took a political science class because it's required to be a judge and an attorney. My first test was over a bunch of dates and court cases and those things, and that was the last time I thought I wanted to be a judge. So our president was correct. Sometimes you go to college and it is your way to find out what you don't want to do or what you don't want to be. And my motivation was also judges made a lot of money, right? The more my teachers poured into me, I thought, maybe I'll be a teacher. And then I found out what they got paid. And I thought, no, I don't want to be a teacher because I want to make a lot of money. So that was my drive. And luckily, I got some wisdom and understood that I don't want to just make a living. I want to make a life. And I want to make a difference. And you can guess, I went into education. So this is me on my graduation day. This is 2011. I now have a doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies. What does that mean? That means they call me a SME. Anybody ever heard that term before, SME? It's a subject matter expert. I really like being called an expert. Subject matter expert. But again, Dr. Hurley told us you start to learn a lot about a little. So my expertise is limited to what I have my doctorate in. And my family often tease me because I am directionally challenged. And when I get lost, they say, and you have a doctorate. I'm like, well, it's not in everything. It's in educational leadership and policy studies. So it does make you an expert in a particular field. But before I became Dr. Flowers, I was just Lasagna. Now, this little girl grew up with a single parent, no dad. Dad lived in the same city, but I probably saw him about 5 times in my life. My mom worked 2 jobs. At least I make her sound like a martyr. When she wasn't at work, she was at the club, right? She was dancing, she was partying. She had 4 children by the time she was 25. So she was trying to make up for some of that. You see the picture on the left. The reason I have that there is because I didn't remember it was picture day. And one of my teachers combed my hair. That is not the way I came to school that morning. But she realized it was picture day and said to me, I have 2 boys. I love combing hair. Can I comb your hair for your picture day? Well, back then, I thought that was really true. But as I got older, I understood that she used a non-threatening method to fix me for my pictures. She just cared. When I was in elementary school, my science teacher was teaching a lesson on marijuana. That was a long time ago, right, when I was in elementary school. But she was talking about marijuana and she was talking about all of the harmful effects. And I'm going somewhere. And I raised my hand during that class session and I wanted to help her out and say, Miss Nair, you are mistaking. That weed doesn't do those things. It just gives you the munchies and it makes you laugh a lot. Right? I wanted to correct her because I saw that happen at my house a lot. And I didn't see any of those harmful effects that she was talking about in the book. And so I wanted her and the rest of my classmates to know that's really not true. I was wrong, but I was talking from my experience. And Miss Nair took me outside and she said to me, in not a condescending way, but she said, you should not know anything about marijuana at your age, but since you do, I need to tell you that you may not tell other students that it's not harmful. And I bring that up because it was those type of teachers that I remember as I got older. They were helping and guiding me and showing me that just because that was my norm, that wasn't the norm. I thought everybody, family, smoked weed at home. And I didn't understand the big deal about saying it at school, but that was my norm. And I didn't feel judged by the teachers that I'm mentioning, that this wasn't all of my teaching experience as a student. I did have some that were very judgmental because they didn't see my mom. And I would hear them in the hallways, have you ever seen Miss Flowers? I've never seen Miss Flowers. I've tried to call her. I've tried to do this. And they treated me differently because my mom wasn't involved. Well, my mom had 2 jobs and a 9th grade education. She stopped going to school in the 9th grade. So my mom didn't have sick days. Neither did she have vacation days. So if she didn't go to work, she wouldn't get paid. So the school could call all they wanted to. She decided to feed me instead. When I became a teacher, I had the opportunity to correct a lot of other teachers because I heard them say their parents don't care. Their mama don't care about them. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean they didn't care. My mom cared. She just understood that you can make it without an education. She didn't value it the way that it should have been valued, but she learned how to make a living without it, but she loved me. And so it's unfortunate that sometimes educators, with all of the influence and power that we have, we talk to students and we treat them as if they are responsible for their particular situation. And you may be experiencing that. You may feel like teachers, life principals, really interact with you as if you are responsible for where you are. But I have teachers that left their fingerprints on me because they cared. And I am who I am today, an educated Black woman, because teachers, not just Black teachers, but teachers took the time, like Dr. Ben, to just care. And so I'm thankful. So those are some of the teachers I told you about. I have several things that happened in school, and I just want you to know that teachers left their fingerprints on me. They didn't, they weren't condescending, and they saw things in me that I didn't see. I didn't think that I was brilliant. I didn't learn that I was brilliant till much later. Yes, I think I'm brilliant now, but that's because teachers, they gave me my academic identity. They told me things about me that I didn't see, and sometimes I didn't believe them. Because how am I going to be somebody? I don't even know a doctor. I don't know a nurse. I don't know a Black anything. So how can I be that? And so sometimes I didn't believe them because I didn't see it. And I thought that's just kind of wishful thinking. But the older I got, I kept hearing that same message. And one of my teachers, I said, this statement says, support is not always labeled. And I want you to know that as students, because some of the people that are offering you support, it may not look like support. I had Miss Davis when I was in high school, and she was my geometry teacher. And I'd make B's in geometry, but it was never good enough for her. And she would toss me my paper, and she took me outside one time, and she used some cuss words. And she didn't talk to me nicely like Miss Nair. And I swore she hated me. I thought she just hated me. My senior year, as I go back to get my yearbook signed, she tells me, I said, why did you treat me like that when I made B's? She said, because you were an A student. And it frustrated me that you were content and even wanted to be celebrated for a B. She was trying to show me what excellence looked like, and she wanted me to experience the geometry scholar that I could have been. But I fought her, not physically, but I resisted, and I didn't take the coaching that she was trying to offer. And so I missed out. And that taught me a lesson, and there were several areas in my life that I had to say to myself what Miss Davis told me: you will not settle for a B. You will not be okay with mediocre. And some of you are in places right now where you are just doing enough to get by. I'm very familiar with you. I have two sons. One says, what's wrong with the C? Or what's wrong with the B? And he's okay with mediocre. And sometimes so are you. But if you dare to dream about what your life can be, all you have to do is decide, today, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to see if I really have this potential. And sometimes I'm trying to use up-to-date terms and it doesn't really work, but I'm going to say this anyway. Bet on yourself. I'm asking you today to decide, I'm going to bet on me. I used to not do my homework, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see what I really could be. You heard all of those first-gen speakers. The president is a first-gen student. The mayor, Dr. Ben, Dr. Flowers. I didn't know what this was going to look like. I didn't know what college was going to look like. I didn't go away to college because I had a sister that had had a drug addiction, and I had to raise my nephew. So I didn't want to go away to college because I was responsible for him, even though I'm only 10 years older than he is. So you have people in your life that are models for what you want to do, and then some things you just don't want to do. I wanted to be better, but I just didn't know how. And to be honest, I didn't even really know if it was possible. Support is not always labeled. Don't be so quick to think that people are against you because they're doing or saying some things that you're not used to. I never had a Miss Davis in my life. I didn't have an aunt like Miss Davis. I didn't have anybody that just pulled me aside and really showed me my card and said that it's not enough, because I was better and doing a little better than most of the people in my area, and that made me content. But you want to always have people in your life that are where you're going, and then some people that you can also pull up, like Dr. Hurley said. Be prepared to learn every day. Learn something. Don't go to bed without thinking about, what did I learn today? What did I learn today? Wake up expecting to learn not just information, but things even about yourself, because you want to be better. Learn to value different backgrounds, ideas, and experiences. I had a similar experience with Dr. Ben. Like Dr. Ben, I went to an all-black school and all-black middle school, and when I got to high school, it was very different. It was different, and I had to learn how to embrace different. and grow in the middle of different. This is one of my favorite quotes, and you'll see it again in just a few seconds. Again, I'm almost done because I'm just repeating what everybody else has said. When I was in high school, they had, it's time to try out for cheerleading. I know, boys, don't disconnect, stay with me. And I thought, I can't try out for cheer because I don't have a way home. I have to ride the public school bus home. And one of the teachers that was the sponsor said, I'll take you home. If you try out and make it, I'll take you home. And she did, and she was beautiful, and she was smart, and she was classy, and I just wanted to be like her. And as she was taking me home, every day I lied to her and said, I need to stop by the store. My mom wants me to get bread. I just made up something every day. I needed to do something. Finally, she says, Lasagna, you can't possibly have to go to the store every day. Where do you live? My heart dropped because I really believed that if she drove down the hill where my apartments were at the bottom, that she wouldn't see me the same at school anymore. She called me her daughter at school. And I thought, if she really know how I live and where I live, our relationship is going to change. But that day, she wouldn't let me off the hook. Went down the hill, and she saw where I lived, and I was looking at her so that I could see her disappointment. I was anticipating the look on her face like, oh, I will never do this again. But it didn't happen. Before I got out of her car, she said to me, you are not responsible for where you are, but you are totally responsible for where you end up. You are not responsible for where you are. Your living situation, your parenting situation, your sibling situation, your community situation, you are not responsible for any of that. But you know what? I felt like I was. I carried that load everywhere I went. I felt the responsibility. And that day, I really felt this huge weight lift out off my shoulder because nobody ever told me I wasn't responsible. I used to wonder, what is it with me that my dad doesn't come around? Her dad comes around. Why don't I have aunts and uncles that come to my birthday parties or come to my school events? So I thought it was me, and I felt responsible. And I want to say to all of you, you are not responsible for where you are, but you are totally responsible for where you end up. It is your responsibility to own it. Own every decision you make. Not, well, I would have, but this person, I couldn't because of this. Don't be an excuse maker. Learn to own every decision you make. Why? Why own every decision you make? Because that's the only way that you get to correct it and get better. It's your responsibility, and you grow as a person. When you learn to own every decision that you make, you will be proud to say, I am responsible for my destiny. With the help of a lot of people, I am standing on a lot of different shoulders. But remember, I lived in a very poor neighborhood with a single mom that was not around at school. My family situation was not encouraging academically. I had to try to study while they were having parties. And I didn't go to bed till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning till they fell asleep. And I had to get up and go to school the next morning. Nobody was there to tell me to go to school. My mom was work before I got up. My sisters were still asleep because they were partying. Nobody woke me up to say it's time to go to school. And I wish I could tell you I was just this driven kid with all of these goals. And so school was important to me every day. But that's not why I got up and went to school every day. I went to school every day because of those teachers, that names that were on the board, because they were happy to see me. And they were disappointed when I didn't come to school, and they told me. And so I got up every day and went to school because they gave me a sense of belonging. They looked for me. And I just happened to learn once I got there. So I had extrinsic motivation in the beginning. And that means it's coming from something else. And sometimes I really do believe in by any means necessary. I want some kids to come to school because of me. If I get them there, then I can teach them. When I was a teacher, it didn't matter. I need to feed them. I need to do lunch. I need to provide whatever it took to get them there, because I can't teach them if they're not there. So I am just really grateful that they took the time to create that type of academic environment for me. These are some of my teachers. And this is just like 10 years ago, but I still keep in touch with them. They made a difference. The one in the middle is the one that took me home every day that I lied to and said I needed to go to the grocery store, but she knew better. That's Miss Rosemary Bolden. I'm going to end with, it's really important that you decide what you want to do with your life, not what you want to be. Leadership is in the eye of the beholder. If other people are not looking at you as if you are a leader, that's okay. Sometimes they miss it. But if there's anybody in your circle that says you're a leader, use your powers for good, believe it. And if nobody has shared that with you, I'm here to tell you today that you're leading somebody. And you are brilliant. You have way more than you're using. Raise your hand if you agree. Like, I could do better. I am not really using 50% of my ability, Dr. Flowers. Yes, thank you for being honest. I challenge you to pursue just your best so that you can look yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see. I am now a educational consultant, which means I travel different places and I train teachers and principals about just how to build relationships and create a culture in places that invite students to come, because maybe they should know some things already, but they don't. I didn't. There were a lot of things I just didn't know. And I heard teachers say her mom should have taught her that. Maybe she should have. But I had a lot of other teachers that I remember that said, even if they didn't teach her, I'll teach her. I said some inappropriate things. I didn't really know what respect was. I talked to my teachers the way I talked to my mom, my neighborhood people. They didn't ever tell me that was disrespectful. So I had to learn that respect is not universal. What I think is respect, other people may not think is respect. I thought it was okay to say, girl, I know. I used to talk to my teachers like that, like, girl, I know. And they would say, you're 10. I'm not your girl. But they would say it lovingly. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. But they helped me clean some of that up. I could go on, but I don't want to repeat what's already been said. I am here because I believe that you have way more than you are using. And I believe that some of you don't believe that you really can be what people have told you you could, or what you've dreamt about. But you can. You can. I didn't have an academic role model. My teachers served as that. I became a teacher because of what they did for me. Wasn't because of the money, but I'm like, if they can change somebody like me, I want to be able to do that. They didn't just change my life. They saved my life. They didn't just change my life. They saved it. They saved it. You owe yourself a quality education. That levels the playing field. Well, gives you more leveling. Gives you more leveling. But you owe it to yourself. So this is a creed that I wrote. And I want to ask all of you to stand and let's read it together. Will you guys? And I want you to really, if you don't mean it, you don't have to read it. But we're going to read it together. Here's our scholar creed. I am a scholar. I am prepared to learn today. I'm not responsible for my beginning, but solely responsible for my ending. I am reflective, respectful, and powerful. I own every decision I make. I determine my destiny. I am capable of academic excellence. I value different ideas, backgrounds, and experiences. I positively impact my life, family, school, community, and the world. What's the last sentence? You matter. Thank you so much. You matter. You matter. That concludes my motivational keynote speaker storytelling. And I don't know if we have time for a Q&A. I think I'm out of time. 3 questions. Anybody have questions? One over here? Yes.
Some ways that your teachers helped you when you grew up. What are some ways that you help kids reach their goals?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I duplicated what I saw. I noticed my students. They could come in during lunch, after school. I'm there. I've bought a ton of yearbooks, class rings, prom tickets, T-shirts, tennis shoes, toothbrushes, toothpaste, listen to boyfriend-girlfriend conversations. So I made myself available for whatever it was that they needed. I'm just there. And I just duplicated what some of my other teachers did. I just loved them. I cared for them. Even when they were being disciplined, when I became a principal, some students I suspended and they gave me a hug on the way out the door because they knew these are your consequences. But I care about you and I'm not going to treat you like a criminal because you broke a rule. You're still important. You're still special. So those are some of the things I did as a teacher. Yes, sir.
Do you notice the kids that feel left out and stuff too?
Yes, I think everybody has a gift, but I am kind of a magnet. He said, do I notice the kids that are usually left out? I think I have a radar for those kids because that was me. That was me. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. The way I grew up, I was very mature and I knew a lot of things that I shouldn't have known. And so some of the things that my peers were doing, they weren't funny to me. I had to do all of my mom's bills when I was 8 years old, balance her checkbook because she could trust me. So I didn't play with dolls. I didn't have time to do that. So I felt like that. And so I do hone in to the students that are left behind or left out, and I find meaningful ways to engage them. And I listen to them to tell them, you may want to try this. There's so many students in high school that were in the choir because I heard them walking down the hall singing. And they were like, I don't want to be in the choir. Yes, you are. We're on the way to the choir teacher right now. And I saw one in Home Depot 2 weeks ago. I have a video afterwards I'll show you. I ran into her and She was like, do you remember when you made me get in the choir? Yes, I do. But, so yes, I do notice those. And if you don't feel like anybody is noticing you, pay attention to the one person in the school that does. I guarantee you it's been somebody. You may have just overlooked them. And seek that person out. Yes, sir. How do I describe leadership? I describe leadership as just having a responsibility to yourself and others. Leadership is not about titles and being out front. Leadership, to me, is an act of service. I serve on a local school board. It takes time, commitment, and I don't get paid. When my sons found out I did that for free, they had a problem. Like, that's a whole lot of time. You mean you don't get paid? No, I don't get paid. I'm an elected official. I have to run a campaign and give up my time to offer leadership on a school board, but I believe in the work. I believe in the work. And so leadership, to me, is servantship. Being willing to serve. The best leaders I've encountered were great followers. And so I try to be the best follower that I can be. Whatever I'm on, I want to be a good follower. If you can't take orders very well and you're ready to give them, you're going to have a problem. That used to be me, though. That used to be, I wanted to be a judge so I could tell people what to do and, determine their lives. And I liked leading. But I had to learn how to follow and serve. And now I believe I'm a great leader. Yes, ma'am. We have a girl with a question.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
The best piece of advice I've been given was what Ms. Bolden told me. I am not responsible for my beginning, but solely responsible for my ending. And I think the second one would be there's a difference between aggression and assertiveness. I thought I was assertive early in my career, but I was aggressive because I was angry about some things. And just because I knew something needed to change, I thought it didn't matter how I did it, but it does. And sometimes you can make a point and be passionate about something, and you can be right, but it'll never go anywhere if you're aggressive. So somebody can coach you and teach you how to be assertive without being aggressive. 2 more? Yes, sir. Ooh. What ways did I learn to accept criticism? I would have to say I'm a Christian. And I learned how to accept criticism from reading the Bible and just seeing myself in a mirror and understanding what I'm not and understanding that I have an opportunity to change it. And God put some loving people in my life to tell me some hard things. And I had to learn that it's not about who I am as a person. If somebody says I'm aggressive, I used to hear them saying I'm a horrible person. They don't want to have anything to do with me. I'm never going to be anything in this life. Like, I heard all of these other things because they said I was aggressive. And so I had to learn how to hear what they were saying. Like, this is not an assault on my whole person. And I see that with people, not just students. Just listen to the criticism that's being given and don't take it as they're criticizing your whole person. It's one thing. And if you don't accept it and roll with it and fix it, you're going to always have it. You're going to live with it. So that was one of the best things I learned is how to deal with criticism. I heard somebody say, don't believe everything your enemies say because they're your enemies. But also don't believe everything your friends say because they're your friends. So they gaslight you and pump you up and sometimes you're not all of that. So learn how to listen to criticism, and I keep a mental trash can. The things that don't fit me and they don't work for me and I feel like they're negative, they go there. But then there's something about the truth. It just rings with you. and you can't forget it. And those things, I'm like, I need to do something about that. Yes, ma'am.
Like, how do you show people that you don't know that they can trust you?
How do you show people you don't know that they can trust you? Well, I think that's a character issue and an integrity issue. You really set yourself up if you go on a campaign to show people they can trust you. That kind of falls into that people-pleasing kind of cycle. Just be a person of integrity and be trustworthy. Make sure, this is the most important thing about that. Make sure you trust you. Are you safe with you? Are you doing what's in your best interest? Can you trust you to take care of you? Because nobody will do for you what you won't do for yourself. Thank you so much.